Hey there, it's Anonymous Tea, where we spill the tea anonymously. Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, YouTubers. Hope you guys are all having an amazing day today, sending good vibes, sending positivity, sending blessings, and good energy to each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, anything I say is alleged and in my very, very personal opinion. This for entertainment purposes only. None of this is personal. The Copyright Act of 1976 is in the description box. Some meat and potatoes, some housekeeping items. It is free to follow me. Free to follow me on this channel, Anonymous Tea. Free to follow me on my other channel, Anonymous Tea Podcast. There is new content over there. Follow me on the Tickety Talk at Anonymous Tea Podcast. Free to follow me on the Instagram. On the Instagram is at Anonymous Reality Tea. Free to share everywhere. Free to like the video so it gets out to the algorithm. Free to share with your family, your friends, and your foes, and coming or going, hit the like button. So today we are talking Real Housewives of Potomac. As y'all know, I did a video on Monique Samuels. She did a couple of interviews, a couple appearances on Watch What Happens Live, and I believe as well Good Day DC, in which she was asked about Candiace, whether or not there's a reconciliation in the future. On Watch What Happens Live, she basically said there was no love lost there. We can move forward without there being a reconciliation, and not everybody needs to reconcile, right? You can go your way, I can go mine, right? And so then the host of Good Day DC the following day pressed Monique and was like, listen, looky here, how can you quickly forgive Giselle like that in the matter of just one sit-down scene, but Candiace, it's we're gonna be forever. It's on smoke forever. Monique basically said her and Giselle didn't have a personal relationship. They didn't have a personal friendship. They were basically co-workers. And she felt from Giselle, she knew what she was getting from Giselle, whether it was going to be good energy or bad energy or otherwise. She knew what she was getting into. But basically made it seem as though with Candiace, there was some sort of off-camera relationship. Probably, I mean, we can go back and forth all day, the closeness of it all or lack thereof. But basically, Monique was saying Candiace was one way off camera and then was another way when the camera started rolling. Perhaps maybe reading into things, maybe she is talking about certain instances where potentially she threw Monique under the bus to people that she knew they weren't really fooling with Monique to begin with, that they can use against Monique, and maybe she didn't like that if off camera it seemed like her and Candiace were having some type of a budding relationship of sorts. But I feel like we are heading into, a certain point now where hopefully this wraps things up about the conversation of Monique and Candiace, but let's listen to what Candiace has to say.
She said she's apologized to you, and I couldn't help it. That's what that was in the clip. I don't think because based on what you said, I don't think you felt like you got that actual apology, and I don't recall it either, so maybe yes.
I mean, I have PTSD from the entire experience, so it's possible that I could be misremembering, but I do not recall ever receiving an apology from that girl. I mean, and I see a lot of clips of her talking about like how she was unhealed. I'm like paraphrasing, but how she was unhealed, and much of her behavior was because she was an unhealed girl, which, okay, child, we all got pain. We all got some healing to do and therapy to do, but it's just, it all like reeks to me of like skirting around real accountability. Mostly because, like you said, if you wanted to apologize to me, you would have and could have called me directly. And I'm not now, nor have I ever been, with none of this show shit, this camera shit, like this, I wanted to apologize, but I wanted to save it for this camera or that camera. That, to me, is a crock of shit. Like, when you inflict real live pain on people and real live trauma on people, you need to offer a real live apology that does not need to involve cameras. So it's just all of these conversations about me or that involve me or are me adjacent. Is I don't take it, I don't consider it as remorse or apologetic. And I also think it's cute because I don't really see her out in the public much speaking unless she is talking about me. So what does that say about your relevance or lack thereof?
So the thing is, you guys, I gotta be correct. I gotta be accurate. That's why y'all here, right? And Monique did apologize. And what happened was, when y'all were at the reunion, Candiace, you said that the apology was too little too late. You said you were not accepting the apology. You were not receiving the apology. You were not featuring the apology, which is your right? You don't have to accept or, receive someone's apology if you don't want it, but to say that you never received it is not quite accurate. Monique did apologize, right? Now, maybe based off of the timeline or whatever it was, maybe it wasn't to your satisfaction, or maybe you didn't feel, to receive it in that moment in time or whatever else, but Monique did apologize. You just didn't want to accept it, right? Which is fine. Also, this thing with Monique, I feel like we've discussed this fight like a bazillion times on various different interviews and different podcasts at this point. And, she said that basically she projected her anger that she had for her now ex-husband, Chris Samuels. She projected that all into Candiace of what she was experiencing in her marriage. Here's the thing, I don't think Monique is utilizing Candiace for relevancy. I think the same thing is happening that happened with Phaedra on Real Housewives of Atlanta, and I can't help but the comparisons, right? The thing of it is, Monique has been off of Real Housewives of Potomac for multiple seasons now, right? And Phaedra was off of Real Housewives of Atlanta, for multiple seasons as well, and even longer than Monique's break off of the show. So what happens in the space of storytelling and the space of quote unquote your reality is you have to revisit where we left off when we last saw you. When we last saw you, you know what I'm saying? You beat the brakes off of Candiace. You know what I'm saying? Like you got into the fight and the whole thing of it all. So nonetheless, that's where we got to pick up at. How do you feel about the fight now, looking back on it? Is there potential for reconciliation? All of this and all of that. That's going to be a part of the Bravo press tour, right? But a big part of the press tour as well is Monique and Giselle, coming to a common ground. Now, it could be an alliance. It could potentially be something. I don't know. But to me, like I said in my last video, it always gave that they didn't want Candiace back. It is what it gave, right? Now, I know Monique did a live last night, apparently, where she said that she's open to work with anybody and all of this and all of that. Like that's the politically correct answer. But I find it interesting that Bravo did not ask Candiace back in terms of her coming back to have a storyline of being a new mom, balancing motherhood and a career and all this and all that. That they were like, we're gonna move forward with some new housewives and go on from there. I do find that interesting, but I feel like we are getting to the Candy and Phaedra territory where anytime the other is in front of a camera, is in front of a podcast, is in front of a media publication, is going to be asked about the other party. And I'm hoping that this can get nipped in the bud. I'm hoping it's because of the fact that Monique wants a part of the New York Bravo trip, the New York Watch What Happens Live trip. You get the subsequent, Bravo approved media outlets that you do the interviews, you do the promo for the show and everything else. And they want to chop and screw which parts of the interview that they want to put out as teasers for the fans to, receive and watch and all of that. So, of course, people are going to have a lot of reactions. But here's what I feel like at this point, right? I feel like kind of the same thing with Candy and Phaedra. Y'all know what side of the coin y'all on. Either y'all team nobody, or y'all team somebody, or y'all team the other party. But ultimately, the show has to go on either way, right? The show is going to go on either way. I don't think Monique is utilizing Candiace for relevancy because Monique's personal life seems to be what the other housewives are using for relevancy. First, when she was going to, leave the show the first time while they were trying to put out an alleged trainer cheating rumor. And then she comes back and there's a storyline of whether or not Chris Samuels potentially went out with one of the housewives. Apparently has Charisse on speed dial, answered on the second ring, and was out seen with Katie Rose. Like, which housewife of Potomac is Chris Samuels going to show up with next? And then conveniently that those videos drop of Monique and her former radio co-host. So I don't think she needs Candiace for relevance. I think that was a situation where we are catching up with you on where we left off. Another thing we're catching up on was obviously the tumultuous, back and forth between Monique and Giselle. That is a major storyline. So Candiace, I don't think it's really about you. Well, when it's all said and done, I really don't think it's about you. And I hope this show, I hope the podcast is not an extension of a Real Housewives of Potomac after show. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm hoping we can get into the nitty gritty of some other topics and some other things as well. Because what if Monique comes back and argues and says, oh, you just got this podcast to talk about Real Housewives of Potomac anyways? You know what I'm saying? Like, or to just talk about housewives in general, or talk about Bravo in general. And that's okay if that's what it's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? But you calling her that girl, you throwing your shade, you getting your digs in. Monique really wasn't throwing shade. She just basically was saying there's no relationship. And I'm fine moving forward without there being a quote unquote reconciliation. And then the other bit about, we'll do the apology for camera or do it this or do that she said that she's not on that type of time or whatever else. I don't think that was really the objective of what Monique was trying to say here. I think Monique, without exposing production, sounds like she got privy to some things of what sounds like to me potentially was either a takedown plot or some other stuff going on, or some people being toe-faced, and she didn't like it, and it pissed her off, and she was already pissed off because she's unhappy with Chris. So, but I mean, nonetheless, I don't know. I mean, what do you guys want to happen at this point? There's too much time that has passed, just like there's too much time that has passed with Candy and Phaedra. The immediate thing that would have been appropriate to do in both scenarios of Real Housewives of Atlanta as well as Real Housewives of Potomac, whether Phaedra came back to the show or not, whether Monique was coming back to the show or not, even though she said she was offered a contract, is the first thing would have been a sit down with Candiace and Monique, a sit down with Phaedra and Candy, and see if there is another attempt at a genuine apology and everything else. And either they're going to squash it and move forward, or they're not going to accept it and leave it be. But Monique did apologize. Candiace just didn't accept it. So I just wanted to be correct in that she did apologize. You know what I'm saying? But Candiace didn't accept it. She wasn't receiving it. She wasn't feeling it, which is fine. But what is the next step? because I feel like for Monique, like, I feel like she's went through the brutal press run at this point about discussing Candiace. Like, I feel like now her next press run is going to be as it pertains to what's happening on the show. And I feel like her personal life is a bigger topic, is a bigger story. And Monique's got a book coming out in January. So I feel like there's a lot of moving parts here as far as this Candiace versus Monique thing is kind of low on the totem pole, right? But it's going to get the clicks and views for, you know, certain parties in this. So there's that. That's it. That's all. Es todos, es final, es finito. It's the end of the road. It's the end of the line for this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment I post content on my channel. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys again very soon.